The Whingdingdilly struggled to his feet, looking wildly around for a big thing. Then suddenly he remembered that he was the big thing, and went stumbling backward off the porch and out into the yard. And in one clumsy leap he was over the fence and galloping away down the road. His head was in such a whirl he didn't see the man driving his cows to pasture until he was almost upon them. In a panic, the man jumped into a ditch, and the bawling, terrified cows went crashing through a fence, scattering in all directions. Another man was so shocked at the sight of the gigantic beast that he lost control of his tractor, and the machine went plowing through a haystack to end up in the duck pond. Then there was the near head-on collision with a horse and buggy. The horrified horse left the road in one leap to go scrambling up a telegraph pole, buggy and all. Now the Whingdingdilly didn't dare stop or even slow down, and he kept going full gallop all the way back to the woods. Scamp was hoping Zildi would understand his awful predicament and undo her magic spell. Once again he fought his way through the tangle of trees. When he reached the treehouse, he gave the door a resounding thump with his snout, then watched for Zildi to pop her head out the window. But no Zildi appeared. The shutters were latched and the door was locked and bolted. If she's gone, Scamp reasoned, she'll be back sooner or later, so all I can do is wait. It would be a long wait. Early that morning, Zildi had packed her suitcase, spruced herself up in her fancy best, and left on a trip to visit her sister in Massachusetts. She hadn't sailed away on a broomstick like most witches do. Zildi was in no hurry, so she had taken the train. Now she was riding along in comfort, munching on sugar cookies with no thought whatever about what happened to the Whingdingdilly. In the meantime, all the farmers in the neighborhood had formed a small army, and with guns and pitchforks, they followed the trail of the huge footprints straight to the woods. But they didn't dare go in, for now the woods were more frightening than ever. "We'll wait 'em out," said Big Moose Mulford, the leader of the army. "The minute the monster shows his face, powie, we'll pop him off." The farmer stood watch in the evening, then all through the night. And when morning came, there was still no sign of the monster. "From now on," yawned Moose, "we'll split up in bunches, with some taking the night and others taking the day." But after watching the woods night and day for a week, the biggest thing to come out was a rabbit. By this time, news of the monster had spread all over the country, all the way to Central City, and finally to Claxton J. Pringle, the great showman. C.J. Pringle's Palace of Living Wonders towered majestically above the city square. Over the main entrance was a sign reading, "Menagerie of the Marvelous and the Amazing, the most colossal collection of incredible creatures to be seen anywhere on earth." The great showman had traveled all over the world in search of spectacular new attractions for his menagerie. And when he read in the newspaper that the fantastic giant of a beast was running loose in the country, C.J. was jubilant. "Eureka!" he cried. "Why, if this beast is half what they say it is, it could be worth a fortune. But first I must get my hands on the thing." Within half an hour, C.J. had rounded up his toughest, roughest crew of roustabouts, and they took off in their Humperson autobus, followed by 10-ton beast-moving van. The great showman was in a desperate hurry, so he went at top speed all the way, with the horn blaring full blast warnings to clear everyone off the road. And in no time they came skidding to a stop alongside the woods, where all the farmers rushed out to greet them. "If you've come after the monster," said Bull Moose Mulford, "he's somewhere back in those trees, but you better be careful. He's a real whopper." "The bigger the better," said C.J. Then, turning to his men, he warned, "Don't get too rough. I want the beast all in one piece." "Easy does it," they promised, and with lassos, chains, and leg irons, the roustabouts went charging into the woods. By the time Scamp had discovered what all the crashing around in the bush was, he was surrounded. He tried to run, but after one turn around the sycamore, the men closed in, grabbing onto his legs, his neck, and his tail. It was a fast and furious struggle, but they wrestled him to the ground, roped and chained him from head to foot, then dragged him away through the woods. "Thunder Nation!" roared CJ at the first sight of the giant beast. "He is a whopper. No wonder there was such a big hullabaloo." "Say now," he exclaimed, "there's a good name for the thing. A hullabalooper. The super-duper hullabalooper." "Suits him to a T," chuckled Moose Mulford. Now that the danger was past, the farmers were a happy bunch. They were laughing and joking while the beast was being loaded into the van. And as C.J. Pringle and his crew headed back up the road toward the city, the farmers gave them a rousing cheer. That night, the bewildered and bedraggled super-duper hullabalooper was hustled down a ramp into the basement of Pringle's palace and left in a cage with the other living wonders of the world. There he remained while C.J. went bustling about the city getting placards printed and posters painted to advertise his fabulous new attraction. The most colossal, the most stupendous and phenomenal creature in all the universe. Don't miss the grand presentation at C.J. Pringle's Palace of Living Wonders on the great day of July 20th. When the great day arrived, Pringle's palace was jammed to overflowing, with thousands more waiting in line outside. "Keep calm, everyone," bellowed CJ as the noisy, excited crowd kept pushing and shoving for a closer look at the amazing beast high up on the pedestal. The super-duper hullabalooper was too much to believe. Some people poked at him with canes, while others yanked on his tail to make sure the beast was real. Now Scamp was even more famous than the great Palomar, yet he had never been so miserable in all of his life. He wished there was some way to escape, but he was always kept chained to the pedestal, and after the show he was caged in the basement for the night. So it seemed that Scamp was doomed to spend the rest of his days as the greatest of all living wonders at Pringle's palace. Then one afternoon Zildi returned home. "Zarks!" she cried when she reached her treehouse. "Somebody's trampled my tulips, and I know who." All around the sycamore were the telltale elephant tracks and the camel tracks of a Whingdingdilly. "I'll get even," she muttered. "Don't worry, Whingdingdilly, I'll find you." Then Zildi shut her eyes to concentrate. "Now let me see. Aha! There you are, living in a palace, a highfalutin somebody. A celebrity, are you? Well, I'll fix that." In one hop, Zildi was up on the stump. Then, aiming her umbrella in the exact direction of Central City, the angry little witch exploded. "Whammy, kazammy, scrooba-scaroof, zig-a-zum-zap, zaruda-kaproof." And in one great purple poof, the super-duper hullabalooper was gone. In its place stood a plain, ordinary, frowsy brown dog. The crowd was so flabbergasted that for a full minute they were left gaping in amazement. Then all at once they burst into an uproar of shouting. "It's a fake! It's a fake! The hullabalooper is a hoax! We've been hornswoggled! We've been rooked! Claxton J. Pringle is a swindler and a crook!" For the first time, the great showman was caught speechless. In a huffing, puffing fury, he seized the dog by the tail and the scruff of the neck and hustled him out all through the crowd. "Out, out, out, and the devil take ye," he bellowed as he flung the dog out the front door. In one bounce, Scamp was on his feet, racing down the street, dodging in and out of traffic. Now that he was free, there was nothing more to worry about. Finding his way out of the big city was easy to do. Dogs have a fine sense of direction, and by nightfall, Scamp was loping along the dusty road far out in the country. "I'm lucky to be a dog," he said to himself, "with sense enough to find my way home. Even a great horse like Palomar might get lost in a big city." Scamp had not felt so happy and carefree in a long time, and when he came over the hill and spied the Jarvis house, he barked joyfully. Then, when he came bounding into the yard, Orvie leaped off the porch, shouting, "Scamp, Scamp, it's old Scamper! Scamp's come home!" In a wild rough-and-tumble greeting, the boy and the dog went sprawling in the grass. "Scamp, you old rascal," cried Orvie. "Where have you been? Where have you been all this time?" "Ruff, ruff," replied Scamp, which was as much as the dog could tell him. And of course, Orvie would never guess where Scamp had been. Not in a million zillion years.